Hi, welcome back to another episode here on Creepy with Coffee. I'm Kim, your storyteller. Tonight, I'm going to tell you two stories that it falls into the category of black magic. Where these stories are chilling stories of supernatural forces, black magic, and unseen terrors lurking in the shadows. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone falls victim to dark rituals? When whispers in the night turn into something much worse? Well, before we begin with our stories, like usual, if you have yet to do so, please help me like and subscribe to the channel. It would help us a lot. If you have done so, now let's get on to the story.
This is Creepy with Coffee.
Story number 1, The Curse That Ruined a Family. This story belongs to my colleague. Let's call him A. He always treated me with deep respect, almost like an older brother. As someone older, I always tried to conduct myself with dignity, earning the respect of those around me. One day, I asked him how he ended up working in the hotel industry in Kuala Lumpur when he was originally from Pahang. That's when he started sharing me this story. A had once been a small business owner, selling burgers. From a single stall, he expanded to 3, thriving alongside with his younger brothers B and C. As his business flourished, he formed close ties with other street vendors, including one older man who sold packed meals. This man eventually became a mentor, offering A not only business advice but also knowledge of certain things, unconventional practices, rituals for attracting customers, charms for prosperity, and so on. A was intrigued, and soon his success skyrocketed. One day, the old vendor warned A never to eat anything offered by a widow who sold noodle soup nearby. Although she seemed kind, but the warning unsettled A. He heeded the advice, but soon his brother C got hooked in. At first, nothing seemed amiss, but then strange things began happening. C's behavior changed. He became erratic, detached. His once thriving business crumbled. And somehow, C ended up being in a relationship with the widow. But for A, he was thinking it's an adult thing, so he don't mind too much about it. But things got worse day to day. Their home, once peaceful, turned into a battleground whereby sudden fights would erupt between their parents for no reason. It wasn't until months later that they realized C had been cursed. No matter where they sought help, Islamic healers, shaman, even they went all the way to Thailand to seek help from Thai temples, even that doesn't work. The situation worsened. At night, they would hear footsteps on the roof, people running back and forth. And when they play Quranic verses in the house, A and B would feel this unbearable twisting pain in their spines the moment C walked into the house. It was so intense that they had to shut off the recording. And one day, another vendor, which is an Indonesian man, somehow heard about this story. And the Indonesian man actually offered to help. So A and the Indonesian had a conversation. The man listened carefully and agreed to help, but on one condition, not on the money, but the Indonesian man said he wanted the creature that has been tormenting C all this while. And of course, A had to do exactly what was instructed. The Indonesian man also said the widow had not only bewitched C, but had done the same to 7 other men before him. Well, she used them for wealth, pleasure, draining their spirits until they were left hollow shells. Then come to the day where they are supposed to break the curse. The first step was a warning. Indonesian men said, cut down the papaya tree in front of the widow's house. So A and B did just that, chopping it down in the middle of the night, even setting the papaya tree on fire. But to their surprise, a week later, they saw the exact same papaya tree stood tall once again. It felt like nothing that happened to the papaya tree untouched, as if their destruction had never happened. So anger consumed A, as even once where he saw the widow riding a motorcycle, and in a fit of rage, he floored the gas pedal, determined to ram the widow. But as his car surged forward at 120 km per hour, something unnatural happened. The moment of impact, nothing was in front of him. It seems like the widow had just vanished. But during the impact, the moment he looked back at the rearview mirror, the widow was riding her motorcycle safely just behind the car. And the second step was even more extreme. To break the curse, they needed 12 liters of agar wood oil, an expensive and rare ingredient. It cost nearly 4,000 ringgit. But finally, it worked. He didn't say what exactly did the Indonesian man do, but C was finally freed. The widow, sensing her control slipping, distanced herself. Well, A's faith had been shaken, but soon after that, he found solace in returning to Islamic teachings. Till today, he had promised himself to distance himself from such practices, but the memory of what happened still haunts him. Story number 2, supernatural healing. Well, this story happened recently. It took place at my cousin's house. She held a prayer ceremony there as a way to bless her newly built bungalow and celebrate for her buying a new car. Well, let me start from the beginning. I've always been close to my female cousin, whom I'll call Kak El. The same goes for her elder brother. I was raised by my aunt on my father's side, and over time, she became like a mother to me. She even treated me as her own youngest child. Kak El and I have always been on the same wavelength, like two peas in a pod. We were both quite open-minded. Back in the day, I had plenty of girlfriends and she had her fair share of boyfriends. But as life goes, once we got married, everything changed. Kak El is a natural talker, easy to befriend, and well-liked, especially by men. She never stressed over things and was always easy to deal with, fiercely independent and confident. Her personality suited her well because she was a successful businesswoman. She ran a thriving furniture and home essentials business, selling curtains, mattresses, blankets, pillow covers, and a lot more others. But with success comes envy. At first, it was just minor disturbances, manageable, and nothing too concerning. She even sought traditional healing just for protection, but then things took a turn for the worse. One day, she started experiencing itching all over her body, and itch so deep it felt like it was in her blood. Well, first step, of course, she went to the doctor, but every checkup came back normal. Blood tests, x-rays, scans, nothing showed up. At least according to modern medical reports, she was completely fine. She tried countless treatments, going from one healer to another, and each time she would get temporary relief, only for the symptoms to return even worse than before. Well, this is not just a week or two, not even a month or two. This went on for the entire 4 years. Then one day, her husband mentioned a colleague at work who was known to be able to cure people. However, there was a catch. This man practiced mixed methods, some rooted in Islamic healings, others not so much. Still, out of desperation, Kak El agreed to give it a try. The session was held at her newly built bungalow. The healer asked her to bring 7 calamansi limes. He then rolled each lime over her body, one after another. And then after the whole process of rolling was done, he cut them open, and what they found inside was horrifying. Inside each line, there was wild boar flesh, cotton used to plug the anus of a corpse, bamboo splinters, grave soil, a needle, a rusty nail, and hair from a Siamese temple doll. Shaken by what she had witnessed, Kal-El decided to go one step further. She asked the healer to protect her house, placing spiritual barriers so no more harm could be sent her way. Well, since that day, she hasn't suffered from any afflictions. Later, she confided in me. She knew that the method used to heal her wasn't entirely right, but in her words, when you're desperate to get better, you can't afford to be picky. Well, I told her outright I didn't agree with the logic, even if she had been cured. She explained that in this world, there are two types of healers. First, you have to use the usual ones: shamans, witch doctors, monks, and even some religious healers. Then there is the second kind, the knowledgeable ones. Curious, I asked her, what do you mean by knowledgeable ones? She told me these healers are different because they know how to manipulate the entities that cause disturbances. They don't fight them outright, but instead deceive them into leaving. For example, they might trick the spirit into thinking you can only return after this banana tree's bears fruit 3 times, or you may return after 10 generations, by which time the healer himself would have long passed away. Well, I simply nodded in response, but in my heart I knew one thing for sure: healing, illness, and recovery are all in the hands of God. Some methods may work faster than others, but at the end of the day, only God has the power to give or take away suffering. Well, these are just glimpses into the healing world of dark magic and unseen forces. Whether you believe it or not, stories like this remind us that some things defy explanation. Do you have your own black magic stories? You have heard of someone, family members, friends that have felt victim into this kind of rituals? Well, my email is just down below in the caption, so you know who you can send it to. That's all the episode for today. Until the next one, this is Creepy with Coffee, and I'm Kim signing off with see you in the next episode.